What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here to talk a little Fanatics again today. We obviously had the news the other day about them acquiring PWCC. So, now that Fanatics has a marketplace under wraps, let's just run through the checklist really quick here. Fanatics has the licenses. Some of them they have now: baseball, football, basketball, coming soon. Maybe sooner rather than later. Who knows if something crazy happens. They are launching Fanatics Live. So they have the source, the licenses, the manufacturers. They're going to have that on complete lockdown. They 100% control it. Okay. Fanatics Live, which will be their competitor to Whatnot, and eBay Live and Loop and Card Shop Live and all the other ones. So they're going to be launching that. That'll be their breaking platform, live selling platform, singles probably eventually. It'll probably go beyond sports cards in the memorabilia and who knows what else later on down the road. So they got that under control. Next up, the PWCC acquisition. That immediately gives them vault storage to play in the high-end game and a marketplace, a well-established marketplace. Already have an app, have the website up and running. They do a great job with high-res images, all that stuff. They have now gobbled that up. So now you have a competitive platform to Golden and eBay. Obviously not as big as eBay, but you have a competitive platform that will be catered specifically to cards, which is where eBay runs into some trouble. If you've used the eBay vault, you know what I'm talking about. That thing's a disaster in its current state. Just not a good product. eBay obviously gets the most eyeballs, but eBay, there's always been this friction between buyers, sellers of cards specifically, and eBay, because eBay just hasn't always been the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to understanding the intricacies of sports cards. They've tried in the past. They have made some changes with return policies and things like that, which were much needed. So they did do that, but they're just very slow to move. Whereas PWCC, 95% of what they do is cards. That is already their core focus. So they'll be able to drill down on that because they're going to have a massive influx of money now to fix any issues that they have going on beyond liquidity. Tech stuff, staffing, whatever they need, Fanatics will get it for them. So on the card-centric vaulting services, it's them, Golden. I guess you could throw Alt in there. I don't personally consider them a major player, but I guess technically they are. So if you want to throw them into the mix, you can, but I view it more so as whatever this new Fanatics thing ends up being, and Golden / collectors as the two major players in this space. Golden has the advantage of getting PSA cards sent directly to their vaulting service from inside the company, basically. And as we all know, PSA grades 1 million cards a month. You only need to get a small fraction of those, and you are loading up your selling platform. And it's just very easy to send that stuff straight over there. They have some kinks they have to work out as well, but so we've walked down this path. What are they missing? There's one key component to all this that's missing from the equation. They have the cards themselves. They have ways to sell them, whether it's PWCC or Fanatics Live. What are we missing in between? Besides distribution, obviously, which, they kind of are doing that themselves too, and will probably cut out those guys sooner rather than later. The answer to the question, if you haven't guessed it in the comments already down below, grading. Grading is now the one biggest hole, in my opinion, in their portfolio. Oh, I should add, they've been locking up athletes to exclusive autograph deals. But grading is the one thing that is missing in this equation. And then they basically can have, they might not be the number one in every category, but now they would now own essentially a piece of the pie everywhere down the line, from the card coming off the line, going in the pack, to you buying it from them, to you ripping it or breaking it live with them, to it then being sent to the key missing piece, a grading company, to then being sent to PWCC or back to Fanatics Live to sell on the platform. Meanwhile, they make the initial sale at the very beginning of selling the box to somebody, and then basically collect their, let's call it 5 to 10% along the chain from all the various different places, whether it's selling the card, reselling the card, grading the card, whatever. That's the Fanatics model. That's where this is all headed. This is where it's always been all headed. Now, I always thought they would get into grading last, and that it was a lower priority on their list. Well, I was right in one aspect of it's going to be last. I didn't expect them to check off all the other boxes this fast. That is where I misinterpreted that. Now, they still might not jump into grading right away, but it's now the one glaring hole in their portfolio that they don't have a piece of. So, the question now becomes, how would they do this? Would they acquire an existing, partner with somebody, or start from the ground up? I feel like the last of those, start from the ground up, is probably the least realistic of the three. It just hasn't been in their model. They don't start things from the ground up. They just go in and buy distressed assets and then throw a bunch of money at it and fix them. That's basically been what they've done, at least in the sports card world specifically, over the last couple of years. What did they do? They gutted Topps. They swooped in, bought them on the cheap. They waited for PWCC to basically fall apart because of their own doing, sweeped in, bought them up. Same thing with PointsBet. That's unrelated to the sports cards, but a very similar thing. It was an asset that had good, or it was a company that had good assets but bad financials. They don't care about the bad financials. They can fix that. They want the asset. So the next one's a partnership. To me, it just doesn't seem like them. I feel like partnership is not their way. They want to own it. They want to control it. They want the full piece of the pie. They don't just want a small bite. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that one out. So that leaves us with acquisition. So let's run through them. Who are the likely targets? To me, they're only going to look at the big four. They're not going to go after some random 3-letter acronym here and build them from the ground up. One, they wouldn't have the existing infrastructure to support it. And two, they're going to want the name recognition. Even if they end up rebranding them, they're going to want the company history. Okay, let's start at the top. PSA/collectors. I don't think so. Too big of a company, too many other ancillary parts, and honestly, they're kind of one of the few other hobby entities that'll be lined up to compete with our new Fanatics overlords. PSA has the advantage of being the largest grader in the space. Everyone loves to hate them, but everyone sends them their cards. They also have the marketplace. They have other grading aspects. I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually get in the comic books at some point in time. Whole 9 yards. But they're more of a direct competitor, I think, to Fanatics in some terms. I don't see them acquiring. It's just kind of, I don't want to say it's too big of a company for Fanatics to acquire, but I just don't know if I see that one. Okay. Next, the one that everyone likes to run to, and I've mentioned this in the past too, CSG/CGC. Yes, there are some back-end Blackstone ties. Personally, I think they're overrated. We'll get to that in a couple minutes when we talk about another company. The only reason I don't see this one as happening is similar reasons to PSA. CSG/CGC is controlled by Blackstone. It's a mega corporation, not Blackstone, CGC itself. There's a lot of entities there that Fanatics probably does or doesn't care about. Most of CGC's bones are made in the comic book side of things and coins, and a little bit of TCG. Sports cards is still a very minor part of their business overall. And they would probably be very expensive to acquire. I don't think they're going to sell them on the cheap. Same with PSA. You're paying a premium price, most likely, for those two companies, and that has not been what Fanatics has done in the past, at least so far. It's just not their MO. So I'm going to take them off the plate. Where does that leave us? Two companies remain. One fits the profile perfectly, and one we kind of have a little bit of history with. First one, Beckett. Beckett is the epitome of a distressed asset in the sports card space. We are still, as of time of recording, and I'm recording this on Monday night right after the news. This might not go up until Wednesday. But We still don't know what's going on with their grading scale. They just switched CEOs out. They are part of a larger group, but that larger group, that investment firm, kind of just feels like they really don't know what to do with Beckett or just don't want to throw any money at them. It's, hey, here's your guys' budget. It's going to be the same. It's not changing. Do what you need to do. We're cool making our 10, 20, 30%, whatever it is that we make from them year over year. And then we'll just kind of figure it out later. But from a distressed asset standpoint, they fit the team. Also, name brand recognition. If they wanted to keep the Beckett name, that they could. If they wanted to eventually turn it into its own thing, they could. But that one really fits a lot of the narratives that we have been talking about. I would almost think they'd want to keep the names separate just for the separation of church and state. I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to have issues. I'm sure in the comments down below, people are already screaming about you can't make the cards and grade the cards. I mean, we may say that, but they're going to do something in the grading space. It is clear as day now that eventually they're going to get involved there. The last one, and to me, the one that makes the most sense. My boy Peter down in Florida at SGC. I think they are the logical target. One, of the major grading companies, they are the only one that I believe is privately owned. They are owned by a person, not a megacorp investment firm or some other nonsense. They have a very good reputation. Peter has built that company spectacularly over the last few years. They have a fantastic reputation in vintage. Obviously, they don't have the market share in modern in regards to secondary market prices, but they are the second biggest grading company in the space. It is a distant second, but they are clearly entrenched as the number 2 grading company in the space. They have built themselves a nice little world down there in Florida. They are, to me, and I've been saying this for years, a slab redesign away from kind of taking the next step. I don't know that they're ever going to catch PSA, but to kind of separate themselves even more as that number 2 in the space. A lot of people really like their slabs. A lot of people really don't like their slabs. We've been down this road 1,000 times before. We don't need to harp on it. It is what it is. I've always been of the mind, if you took SGC's company and reputation and merged it with a more modern slab, see CSG/CGC, it would be a major win-win. If Fanatics comes in, it gives them the chance to rebrand. They could shake that stuff up again, even if they stay with the SGC name. The other thing that points me towards this is that the writing is kind of on the wall. We have seen, at least 2 or 3 Topps exclusive deals with SGC. They did it with Series 1. They did it with the most recent Bowman. And I think there's another one in there that I'm forgetting about where they did the $9 grading where Topps/Fanatics probably picked up some of the tab on that, or there was a mutual marketing agreement or whatever the case is. Something went on there. A deal was struck between Topps and Fanatics and SGC. That really, to me, seems like, hey, let's test the waters with these guys and see what they're all about. Do we like the way that they operate? Do we like the way that they do business? Can they handle this? If we bring them on, can they expand? All that stuff. That one to me seems like the biggest no-brainer. It would probably be the cheapest to acquire out of all of them because they are just card grading. That is it. There's not the other baggage. I'm using the term baggage, but I don't mean that in a negative way. If you buy CGC, you're getting the comic book division most likely. That's not baggage. That's an asset. But I don't know that Fanatics cares about that, so why pay a premium for it? Same with Beckett. You're getting a lot of ancillary stuff that I don't know that they care about. SGC, you're just getting a grading company. That's it. And then you could build them out from there however you want it. If you want them to do autograph authentication, they could build that team up. If you want them to do other things, they could build that up from the ground up. But you get the core infrastructure and business of a grading company, which is the one thing they are now missing. If I'm in the grading space, all eyes are on what Fanatics is going to do. I don't know. You never want to say never. It's going to take a lot for a company to topple PSA or even get even with them in the fight. But Fanatics acquiring a company 3 years from now, 5 years from now, building that company up, spinning it up as they continue to expand. Who knows? Start getting exclusive deals with Fanatics Live and the breaking company, and you buy it, they rip it, they immediately submit it to you to the thing, and then it goes straight into your Fanatics vault. It's one-stop shopping. And for a lot of people, if you're just flipping or you're just degen ripping, if you're just treating it as a slot machine, you're not really collecting, you're just playing slots essentially. In that case, as sick and sad as it sounds, you never have to touch a card. You log on to your Fanatics Live app, you put your money in the slot machine, you spin the wheel, the breaker opens the pack, hits something decent, you say, cool, breaker boy or girl, send that off to Fanatics Grading down in Florida. Peter's going to slab that up for me in some fancy new, sophisticated, crystal clear, holographic, does your dishes for you slab. They send it right straight to the Fanatics vault, and then I can list it, sell it, and then that money goes into my Fanatics account so I can immediately run and go back, buy back into another break again. That is a portion of your Fanatics future. Now, is that how everything's going to work? No. You're still going to be able to walk into Card Collectors 2 shop, buy a pack off the shelf or buy a box off the shelf, go home, rip it yourself, grade it with PSA or Beckett or CSG or whatever other grading company pops up between now and then. You're still going to be able to do what you want to do. But that little glimpse that we just ran through is going to be a slice of the Fanatics future. Deposit your couple $100. The breaker rips the card. The breaker submits the card to the grading company. The grading company sends it to the vault. You sell it. The money stays in your account. Rinse, repeat. Meanwhile, Fanatics sold the box. The breaker submitted it to Fanatics Grading. They're getting a piece there. Fanatics Grading submits it to the vault. You sell it. They're getting a piece there. Whoever buys it off you from the vault maybe keeps it on the vault, sells it again, and again. They keep making their 5% or whatever it is off the same card over and over and over again that they produced, got money, graded, got money, and now are transacting it over and over and over and over again, making 5%, whatever it is, every single time that it changes hands. That is what they saw. That is what they envisioned, I have to imagine, when they sat down however long ago and said, hey, let's make a play into sports cards. That is the future that they envision. Once again, if you don't want to collect that way, you're still going to be able to participate in the hobby all you want. I'm sure the doom and gloom sayers down in the comments are already yelling. And, someone in the comments made, in a video the other day, made, I think, a perfect comment that sums this up. Both things can be true. Panini was really bad for the hobby. Fanatics might also be really bad for the hobby. We don't know yet. It's probably, there's going to be some things that we like, and there's probably going to be a lot of things that we don't like. But in the end, it is expensive pictures of cardboard with men and women on it. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. Catch you on the next one. Peace.